Okay, so this is our biology project, the model of the skin, as you can see, or pretty much the entire integumentary system. And so here you can see this is the epidermis, this is the dermis right here, and this is the subcutaneous layer. Now I'm going to start explaining each of them. First I'm going to start with the epidermis, from bottom to top. So for the first layer of the epidermis is the stratum basale, right here, represented by the orange dots with the purple in the middle. The purple represents the nucleus, as there are cells. Next we move on to the stratum spinosum. These are represented by yellow dots with nuclei as well. Then we move on to the stratum granulosum, and this is again another layer of orange dots with purple nuclei, because they're still kind of alive and still produce some keratin. And then we move on to the stratum lucidum, that has just a layer of orange dots. And finally we move on to the stratum corneum. All the cells are dead, so it doesn't need a nucleus, and it's represented as this pink line. Right here we have a mole. This is our skin deficiency that we included. A mole is made up of a lot of cells called melanocytes, the pigment cells, that are clumped up very tightly and they form a mole. Dividing the epidermis and dermis, there's a base layer, base membrane right here, which provides the epidermis with nutrients as it is avascular. Moving on with the dermis, let's look at the nerves that are all around here. These give us a sense of touch and pain and all those feelings that you get from, well, touching stuff. Next we move on to the hair follicle, which is, I'm going to explain a lot of stuff here. The hair follicle, well, it grows, the hair, as you can see here, the hair grows up to here, and eventually here's a better representation of that as it comes out on top. The hair follicle also includes the sebaceous gland, which provides the hair with oil, and the skin and the hair with oil, so that it doesn't dry up. We also move on to the erector pili muscle, which causes the hairs to be erect when either presented by cold weather or goosebumps. Finally, in the epidermis, we move on to the sweat gland, which is, as you might guess, produces sweat, and it's taken through the sweat duct up to the surface. Moving on to the last part of this
subcutaneous layer.
Subcutaneous layer.
You can see right here, these are the arteries and the veins. The arteries are the ones that contain the blood that isn't with oxygen, and the veins are the ones that contain it with oxygen.
Mm-hmm. The subcutaneous layer is made up of adipose tissue, which warms up the body and it also has the main function of attaching the skin to the muscle and bones inside the body, and, well, to actually attach it. And that's everything of the model. Here we have the epidermis, the dermis, and the subcutaneous layer, and they're all part of the integumentary system. We only covered a few, but this was just the accessory structures. And we hope you like this presentation.